The text came through at 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday. "Hey babe, don't call me tonight, okay? Sarah's having a rough time with the divorce. We're doing a girls' movie marathon at her place. Might get emotional. Love you." I stared at those words on my phone screen, sitting in my car in the parking lot of our apartment complex, watching the security camera feed I'd installed 3 days earlier, watching my wife open our front door, watching a man walk inside, watching her kiss him before the door even closed. That text, she sent it while his hand was already on her waist. "My name is David. I'm 34 years old. I've been married for 7 years, and this is the story of how a single lie backed by what I thought was love unraveled into a surveillance operation that destroyed everything I thought I knew about trust, marriage, and the person sleeping next to me every night. This isn't just about cheating. It's about the architecture of deception. The small lies that build into massive structures. And what happens when you have footage of the exact moment your marriage became a performance? Let me take you back to the beginning. Not the beginning of the affair, I'll get there, but the beginning of us. Rachel and I met in 2015 at a mutual friend's wedding. One of those romantic comedy setups that feels too scripted to be real. She caught the bouquet, I caught her eye. We talked through the entire reception, ignoring everyone else. By the time the DJ played the last song, we'd already planned our first real date. She was a pharmaceutical sales representative, confident, charming. The kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they'd known her for years. I am a systems analyst for a mid-sized tech company. Steady, reliable, the guy who fixes problems behind the scenes. We balanced each other, at least that's what I told myself. We married in the fall of 2016. Small ceremony. Her parents flew in from Oregon. Mine drove up from Florida. 70 guests, a rented vineyard. Vows we wrote ourselves. She promised to always choose honesty over comfort. I promised to never stop seeing her. Irony is a cruel architect. For the first 4 years, everything felt normal. We argued about normal things, whose turn it was to do dishes, whether we could afford a second car, when to start trying for kids. She traveled for work, sometimes 2 or 3 nights a week, meeting with hospital administrators and doctors, selling blood pressure medications and insulin products. I worked from home most days after the pandemic hit. Remote work became permanent for me. For her, business travel resumed by late 2021. That's when the distance started. Not physical distance, though that increased. Emotional distance. You know that feeling when someone is present but absent? When they're scrolling through their phone at dinner, smiling at something you can't see, and when you ask what's funny they say, "Oh, nothing, just a meme," and turn the screen just slightly away. That became our normal. By early 2023, Rachel was traveling 3 or 4 nights a week. Her company had expanded her territory, more responsibility, more income. We upgraded to a nicer apartment in a complex with amenities, a gym, a pool, and yes, security cameras in all the common areas. She started going out more on the nights she was home. Girls' night with Sarah, book club with the work crew, drinks with Emma. You remember Emma from the holiday party, right? I did remember Emma. I also remembered Sarah. I trusted my wife. But trust is a funny thing. It's not binary. It's not a switch you flip on or off. It's more like a foundation that develops tiny cracks. Hairline fractures you don't notice until the weight becomes unbearable. The cracks started in March 2023. She came home from a conference in Dallas wearing different perfume. When I mentioned it, she said she got a free sample at the hotel spa. Reasonable. Her phone, which used to sit face up on the counter, now always sat face down. When I asked why, she said the notifications were distracting her. Reasonable. She started showering immediately when she got home, even if she'd been gone only a few hours. When I asked, she said she felt gross after being in hospitals all day. Reasonable. Every explanation was reasonable. But together they formed a pattern. I'm a systems analyst. I see patterns, I build models, I identify anomalies in data, and my wife had become an anomaly. I didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious husband, the insecure partner who checks phones and demands access to emails. That's not who I am, that's not the marriage I wanted, so I ignored it. Until May 12, 2023. We were having dinner, takeout Thai food. She was telling me about a frustrating meeting with a hospital purchasing director. I was half listening, scrolling through work emails on my laptop. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her entire face changed. It wasn't happiness, it wasn't annoyance, it was something else, something I'd never seen before: anticipation. She picked up the phone, read the message, and typed back quickly, her fingers moving with practice speed. Then she smiled, not at me, at the screen. "Who was that?" I asked. The question hung in the air for half a second too long. Sarah, she said, she's having issues with her ex again. What did she say? Rachel locked her phone, just venting. I'll call her later. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay next to my wife, listening to her breathe, and I felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger. At 2 a.m. I got up and went to the living room. I sat on the couch in the dark, staring at nothing, and I asked myself the question I'd been avoiding for weeks. Is my wife having an affair? And immediately another question followed. Do I want to know the truth? Because here's what nobody tells you about suspicion. Once you open that door, you can't close it. Once you start looking for evidence, you'll find it everywhere, whether it exists or not. Confirmation bias becomes your closest companion. I decided I needed to know. Not because I wanted to catch her, but because I needed to either confirm my paranoia or kill it. I needed data. I started small. I began paying attention to her patterns. When she texted, how often she smiled at her phone, how quickly she responded to certain messages versus others. I noticed she had started angling her phone away from me even when we were just watching TV. I noticed she took her phone into the bathroom now every single time. I noticed that certain nights she'd get a text and suddenly need to run to the store or take a work call in the car. But noticing isn't proof. On May 18th, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked our phone records. We had a shared plan through my company. I had access to the account. I could see call logs and text message timestamps, not content but metadata, who, when, how long. I downloaded 3 months of records. And I saw it immediately. Single number appeared 47 times in April alone. Calls ranging from 4 minutes to over an hour. Texts sent at all hours, morning, afternoon, late night. I didn't recognize the number. It had a local area code. I reverse searched it. No name, likely a cell phone, could be anyone. But 47 calls in 1 month, that's not a coworker, that's not a casual friend, that's intimacy. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the data. I felt sick. Not because I had proof I didn't, not really, but because the pattern was unmistakable. I confronted her that night. Who have you been talking to? She looked up from her laptop. What do you mean, you've called the same number almost 50 times in the last month? Her expression didn't change. No panic, no guilt, just mild confusion. David, I talk to a lot of people for work. Doctors, admins, reps from other regions. I don't memorize numbers. This is a lot of calls to one person. Okay, she said slowly. You want to give me the number? I can tell you who it is. I read it aloud. She pulled out her phone, checked her contacts, and then said, oh, that's Marcus. Who's Marcus? He's the new regional coordinator for the Northwest accounts. We've been collaborating on a major contract proposal. It's been intense. Why? Reasonable, completely reasonable. I just noticed the frequency, I said, feeling suddenly foolish. She stood up, walked over, and put her hand on my shoulder. Babe, are you okay? You seem stressed. I'm fine. Are you sure? Because this feels like I don't know. Are you worried about something? And here was my chance. I could have said it. Yes, I'm worried you're cheating on me. I could have asked for transparency, access to her phone, honesty, but I didn't because she was so calm, so open, so innocent. I felt like the villain. No, I said, I'm sorry, work's been stressful. I didn't mean to accuse you of anything. She kissed my forehead. It's okay. I love you, you know that, right? I know, but I didn't. After that conversation, I had 2 choices. Trust her explanation and let it go. Or find out for certain. I chose option 2, not proudly, not righteously, but definitively. On May 22nd, I ordered a wireless security camera online. It was small, discreet, motion-activated, and transmitted footage directly to an app on my phone, marketed for home security, used by thousands of people to monitor their homes while away, used by me to monitor my wife. It arrived on May 25th. I installed it on a bookshelf in our living room, angled toward the front door and the couch. It looked like a small black cube, like a Bluetooth speaker or a decorative piece. Invisible in plain sight. I told Rachel I'd ordered a new speaker system. She didn't even look twice. For the first 4 days, the camera captured nothing unusual. Rachel came home from work. We had dinner, watched TV, went to bed. Normal. Then came Thursday, May 30th. I was working late at a coffee shop downtown, finishing a project proposal. My phone was on the table next to my laptop. At 6:47 p.m. I got the text. Hey babe, don't call me tonight, okay? Sarah's having a rough time with the divorce. We're doing a girls' movie marathon at her place. Might get emotional. Love you. I stared at it. Sarah, the friend Rachel had mentioned dozens of times. The one going through a divorce. The one who needed support. Reasonable. Then my phone buzzed again. Notification from the security camera app. Motion detected. I opened the app, and I watched in real time as my wife unlocked our front door, as a man I'd never seen before walked inside, as she closed the door behind him, as she turned to him, smiled, and kissed him. Not a peck, a kiss. The kind of kiss that speaks of familiarity. history, desire. I sat in that coffee shop, surrounded by people typing and talking and living normal lives, and I watched my marriage end on a 5-inch screen. I didn't move for a full minute, just stared. The footage was clear, high definition, no ambiguity. They moved to the couch. She laughed at something he said. He put his arm around her. She leaned into him. They looked comfortable, like this wasn't the first time. I checked the camera's cloud storage. It kept footage for 7 days. I scrolled back. May 29th, nothing unusual. May 28th, nothing. May 27th, Rachel came home at 7 p.m. alone. May 26th, nothing. May 23rd, there, same man, same routine. He arrived at 8 p.m., left at 11. I scrolled further, but the footage only went back 7 days. I didn't know how long this had been happening. Days, weeks, months. I sat there, phone in hand, watching the live feed. They were still on the couch, talking, touching, existing in a version of my life I didn't recognize. I could have called, could have confronted her in real time, could have driven home and walked in and demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I did something calculated. I took screenshots, saved clips, documented timestamps. Because here's what I'd learned in 7 years of marriage. If you accuse someone of betrayal without proof, they'll deny it. They'll flip the script. They'll make you the villain for not trusting them. But if you have evidence, undeniable, time-stamped, high-definition evidence, they can't gaslight you. So I built a case. Over the next 2 weeks, I didn't confront Rachel. I watched, I documented. I became a ghost in my own marriage. The camera captured 3 more visits. June 1st, he arrived at 7:30 p.m., left at midnight. June 4th, he arrived at 6 p.m., left at 10. June 7th, he arrived at 8 p.m., was still there when I checked at 2 a.m. Each time, Rachel sent me a text with an excuse. Out with Emma tonight, late dinner and drinks. Book club running long, don't wait up. Sarah needs me, I'll be at her place, love you. Each text was a performance. Each lie was delivered with a heart emoji. I started recognizing patterns in her behavior. On the days he was coming over, she'd be cheerful in the morning, attentive. She'd ask about my day, kiss me goodbye. It was ritualistic, like she was compensating. Or maybe she just felt alive again and I was close enough to receive the overflow. I also started gathering other evidence. I checked our credit card statements, found charges at restaurants I'd never been to, hotels during business trips that didn't align with her company's usual partner chains. I created a spreadsheet, dates, times, locations, texts, charges. I cross-referenced her work calendar with the footage. Half her business trips fell on weekends or didn't match any conferences I could find online. I was living a double life. During the day, I was her husband. Supportive, normal, loving. At night, I was an investigator building a case against the person I'd promised to trust unconditionally. And the worst part? She had no idea. She came home every night, kissed me, asked about my day, and slept next to me like nothing was wrong. The cognitive dissonance was suffocating. On June 10th, I decided I needed to know who he was. I pulled a clear frame from the footage, a shot of his face as he entered the apartment. I reverse image searched it, nothing. I tried facial recognition software available online, nothing definitive. Then I did something riskier. I zoomed in on a frame where his car was partially visible through the window. I could make out a license plate. I have a friend, let's call him Alex, who works in private investigation. We went to college together. He owes me a favor from years ago. I called him. I need a plate run, I said. David, man, you know I can't just... I know, and I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I think my wife is having an affair. I have footage. I need to know who he is before I blow up my life. Silence. Then send me the plate. 2 hours later, he called back. His name is Marcus Delgado, age 36, lives in Redmond, works for... Wait, I interrupted. Marcus. Yeah, you know him, Marcus, the regional coordinator, the work colleague she'd explained away weeks ago. I know of him, I said quietly. Want me to dig deeper? No, that's enough. Thanks, Alex. I hung up, and I finally had the full picture. This wasn't some random affair. This wasn't a stranger she'd met at a bar. This was someone she worked with. Someone she talked to every day. Someone she'd lied about directly to my face. Marcus. The man she'd dismissed as a coworker when I'd confronted her about the phone records. The man who'd been inside our home, our shared space, at least 4 times in 2 weeks, probably more before I'd installed the camera. I sat with that knowledge for 3 days, planning, deciding, preparing. On June 13th, I made my move. Rachel was scheduled for a business trip to Portland, 2 nights. She'd be leaving Friday morning, returning Sunday afternoon. Thursday night, we had dinner together. She was cheerful, packed her suitcase in front of me, kissed me goodbye. I'll miss you, she said. I'll miss you too. She left Friday at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., I checked the camera. No activity. At 11 a.m., I called the hotel she'd said she was staying at, a Marriott downtown Portland. Hi, I'm trying to reach my wife, Rachel Carver. She should have checked in this morning. One moment, sir. Pause. I'm sorry, we don't have a reservation under that name. Can you check for today's check-ins? Maybe it's under her company name. I've checked, sir. No Rachel Carver. Thank you. I hung up. She wasn't in Portland. At 2 p.m., the camera detected motion. I opened the app. Rachel walked into our apartment with Marcus in the middle of the day, on a trip she was supposed to be taking 3 hours away. I watched them for 5 minutes, then I got in my car and drove home. I parked 2 blocks away. I walked to our building. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. I stood outside our apartment door, key in hand, and I listened. I could hear voices inside, laughter. I unlocked the door, and I walked in. They were on the couch. Rachel saw me first. Her face went white. Marcus turned, confused. For 3 seconds, no one moved, then Rachel stood up. David, what are you? You're supposed to be at work, and you're supposed to be in Portland. Her mouth opened, closed. Marcus stood. I think I should. Sit down, I said. My voice was calm, too calm. He sat. I looked at Rachel. How long? David, this isn't. How long? She glanced at Marcus, then back at me. For months, she whispered. For months. A third of a year, 120 days of lies. Is it serious? I asked. It's complicated, she said, and I almost laughed. Complicated, right? I pulled out my phone, opened the camera app, showed her the footage. Does he know he's been on camera every time he's been here? Marcus's face went pale. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. You've been spying on me. I've been documenting the truth, I said. There's a difference. You had no right. I had every right. My voice cracked. You're my wife, we made vows, and you've been fucking him in our home while telling me you're at Sarah's. She flinched. Marcus stood again. Man, I didn't know she was married when we met. Bullshit, I said. You work together. You've known the whole time. He looked at Rachel. She looked at the floor. Get out, I told him. Rachel, he said. She didn't respond. Get out. He grabbed his jacket and left. The door clicked shut, and then it was just us. Rachel sat down on the couch. I stayed standing. Say something, she whispered. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Yell, scream, throw something. Would that make you feel better? It would make me feel like you care. I stared at her. You think I don't care? You think I've spent 2 weeks documenting your affair because I don't care? Then why didn't you confront me sooner? Because I needed to be sure. Because I knew if I accused you without proof, you'd lie. You'd tell me I was paranoid, insecure, controlling, and I'd believe you. Because that's what I've been doing for months. She started crying. I felt nothing. Why? I asked. I don't know. That's not an answer. I don't have a good answer, David. I don't know why. It just happened. Affairs don't just happen, Rachel. You made choices. Every text, every lie, every time you brought him here, you chose that. I felt invisible, she said suddenly. What with you? I felt invisible. You work from home. You're always here, always in your own world. I'd come home and you'd barely look up from your laptop. We stopped talking, stopped having sex, stopped being us. So you fucked someone else. I'm not trying to justify it. Yes, you are. You're making this my fault. It's not your fault, she shouted. But it's not all mine either. We broke long before Marcus. And there it was, the truth beneath the affair. We had broken slowly, quietly, and instead of fixing it, she'd found someone new. I moved out that night, stayed at a hotel, called a divorce attorney the next morning, filed papers by Monday. Rachel tried calling, texting. She showed up at my office. I didn't engage. My attorney advised me to keep all communication through legal channels. I sent her the security footage. Her attorney tried to claim I'd violated her privacy, illegal surveillance. My attorney countered. It was a shared residence. I had legal right to install security, and the camera was in a common area, not a bedroom or bathroom. The claim was dropped. We divided assets. No kids, no house, just an apartment lease, 2 cars, and 7 years of shared everything. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. Fastest I've ever seen a marriage end. But here's what no one tells you about betrayal. The divorce is the easy part. The hard part is what comes after. I developed insomnia. I'd lie awake at night replaying moments, wondering what I'd missed, which smiles were real, which I love yous were performances. I started therapy in August 2023. My therapist diagnosed me with acute trust trauma and symptoms of PTSD, apparently. Discovering infidelity triggers the same neurological response as combat trauma or violent assault. Your brain perceives betrayal as a survival threat. Every time I heard a notification sound, my heart rate spiked. Every time I saw a couple laughing together in public, I felt nauseous. I couldn't date, couldn't even imagine it. Because how do you trust again when the person you trusted most became a stranger? I also learned some hard truths in therapy. Rachel wasn't a monster. Neither was I. We were 2 people who stopped communicating, stopped prioritizing each other, and let the distance grow until someone else filled it. Does that excuse the affair? Number, does it explain it? Partially. People cheat for 1,000 reasons. Boredom, validation, escape, revenge, entitlement. Rachel cheated because she felt unseen, and instead of telling me she found someone who saw her, I didn't cheat. But I did withdraw. I did prioritize work over connection. I did assume that because we were married, we were solid. I took her for granted. That doesn't make me responsible for her choices, but it does make me responsible for mine. Rachel and Marcus are still together. I know because a mutual friend mentioned it casually 6 months after the divorce. They're living together now. Part of me wants to feel vindicated, to think, see, it wasn't just physical, she left me for him. But mostly I feel empty, because even if they're happy, it doesn't undo what happened. It doesn't rebuild what broke. As for me, I'm still in therapy. I started dating again in early 2024. Slowly, carefully. I'm honest about my baggage. I tell people up front I was cheated on. I have trust issues. I'm working on it. Some people run. Some people stay. I'm learning to let them. If you'd asked me 3 years ago whether I'd ever spy on my spouse, I'd have said absolutely not. If you'd asked me whether I'd ever install a hidden camera, I'd have been offended by the suggestion. But here's what betrayal teaches you. You don't know what you're capable of until you're drowning in suspicion. You don't know how far you'll go until the person you love becomes a mystery. Was I wrong to install that camera? Ethically, maybe. Legally, no. Morally, I still don't know. But it gave me the truth. And the truth, no matter how devastating, is better than living in a beautiful lie. Some people disagree. Some people say ignorance is bliss. But I'd rather have painful clarity than comfortable delusion. Because at least now I know what happened, I know why, I know who I was in that marriage and who I want to be in the next one. There's a quote I heard in therapy that stuck with me. Betrayal doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. I thought the affair destroyed me, but really it revealed me. It revealed that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive the unthinkable, that I can sit with pain and not let it define me. It also revealed Rachel not as a villain, but as a human being who made selfish, destructive choices because she didn't have the courage to be honest. I don't forgive her, but I don't hate her either. I just released her from my life, from my future, from the story I tell about who I am, and in that release I found something unexpected: peace. So here's my question to you. If you found out your partner was lying about anything, would you want to know the truth, even if it destroyed everything? Or would you rather live in the comfort of not knowing? There's no right answer, but for me the footage was the kindest cruelty I ever gave myself, because it forced me to stop doubting my intuition, to stop gaslighting myself, to stop living in a marriage that had already ended. The text said, "Don't call me tonight, we're doing a girls' movie marathon." But the footage said, "I've been lying to you for months." And in the end, the footage was the only thing that told the truth. My name is David, I'm 37 now, I've been divorced for 2 years, and I'm finally learning to trust again, not blindly, not naively, but intentionally, with eyes wide open. And if that's all I get from this nightmare, then maybe, just maybe, it was worth it.